Hello everybody. We're going to talk about the most important part of our machine. Our machine is quite different than a lot of other type of robotics, whereas we use PCs rather than PLCs. PLCs would mean my machine would be getting into an enormous size just for controls alone. Also, it would limit the upgradability of our system over time and the flexibility to upgrade it. So we can actually log on remotely to our machines and improve them with speed. So our most important part of our machine is our software. Obviously, we can link this into a database structure for a mushroom farm. But we'll go through the basics of it first of all. We have a login to our system, so you can set up your users as specific logins. The first screen we come to says, are we using the 3 suckers or are we using the 4? Now the 4 is for the baby buttons, because we want to stack them in the punnet slightly differently. On the medium-sized mushrooms around 50 millimeters, we want to have them in 3s. And if I look at a punnet, you would have 3 here, and 3 in the middle. So, whereas the 4, we would have 3 rows of 4, plus then 2 in the middle. So that would aid the presentation. So I'm going to select the third one for the 3 options. Now we come up to the screen with the weights. We can have pre-select weights up at the top. Later on I'll roughly show you how we can change those, so we can predefine them into, rather than 200 we can have 225, rather than 500 we can have 534, so that you just press the buttons. Or we can type it in, very clear. Now there is things like in say minimum, so someone doesn't put in 3 grams and you start running. Our screen, this is not our normal screen because this is our administrator screen. In that there, we can zero the scale, we can start the system, we can tear it. These buttons are very important. What we found was we put these in here to make sure that if I was using bigger mushrooms, it would sit on the belt. The bigger the mushroom, the less I wanted to push down on the mushroom. But if a smaller mushroom would be sitting down here, I needed to push further into the belt to pick up the mushroom. So if we had very small mushrooms and I was using the big ones, it may not come down enough to lift it, and at the same time I didn't want to be pushing the belt away down. So that gives me flexibility. We've 5 grades and we've got predetermined versions, so depends on which I select here. The advantage of that is whenever it goes to put it back into the punnet, if it's a bigger mushroom, it doesn't go as far into the punnet. So it goes down, drops it off, but when it comes back again, it moves up quite a bit more from a small one. So we're not dropping it hard into the bottom or from a height. What we're doing is placing it down very close to where it is. But what we found was, and again we had to change it, was that we found that with longer stocks, so if I had an extra 7 mil on my stock, what happened is as I was coming up near the top of the punnets, it was starting to push down into the punnets or the mushrooms below it. So what we did was we then said we can actually change the stock. So the pickup doesn't alter as this here, but when you're putting it in on the weighing pan and into the punnet, it doesn't go as far down on the 2nd and 3rd rows. So that's what that's for there. Now obviously we've got the exit log that takes me out of the system, and we can set it up that it immediately shuts down the system and exit. We can say log out as well. There is these kind of operations in here, so I can press my stats and it'll tell me my actual pick rate, my punnets, all those kinds of bits of information. But again, if that's linked into Farm Manager, all that information is already at head office using our wireless up at the top. So we have things like the session time, how long we've been going, the session mushrooms, how many punnets has been involved, the total weight, and also we've got the punnet target weight. So we know if we're getting too much overages and what percentage it is. We've got a potential pick rate and we've got our actual pick rate, and we've had cases over 100 kilos per hour on testing. it tells you whether we had punnet jams or denester jams. There is one on the machine which basically goes through and keeps counting up all the stuff that we have done as well. We have found with experience that things are different, mushrooms are different, speeds are different, and over time we want to be fit to hone the machine to make it faster and faster, but also cater more for a particular situation or a particular type of mushroom. So we've got settings. Now this wouldn't be in the normal system, in that we would normally be giving ordinary people a user password rather than administrator passwords. So we've got operational, so I can change the drop times, the maximum punnet weights. I can say, do I link it with farm manager? If I put that to 1, it will link in with that. I can also shut down an exit, park on exit, that'll close the whole computer all down. Denester drop times, how long it takes to drop. So if I went back, I can do pick and place. Now this was one that I had to change on site. We had a drop pause. What we were finding was when the mushroom went over, if it was a button mushroom and very light, when we released the vacuum, it was like sitting there on the suckers. So what we had to do is change the drop pause, move it a wee bit longer, and actually drop down into the punnet. Whereas before it was coming on its way back before it dropped, or maybe even past it. So simple things like that make a fantastic difference to what you're trying to do. We can do things like lift offset, which basically means if we need that lift to keep a wee bit more to the right hand side, we can quite easily change that. There is a button here where we can restore the defaults. So if someone gets in and messes it all up, we just back to the normal settings. So there's it is very flexible. This suction cup cleaning alerts, we can put that there and say when it does 500, 1000 pickups, the machine will drop the suctions out towards the side and give you an opportunity to clean them. So that's in our software. Diagnostics, again, you wouldn't be into it, but we can actually go and see, is the belt moving, is the cutting blade, switch that on and off, try this suction, try that suction, in order to, if there is a problem, it's quite easy to sort out. We can log into the system, and the system via the wireless will actually export the information. We have a battery light up here, and you maybe notice that we've got a battery voltage meter down here as well. So if the battery is running low, it will pop up and warn you, say you need to change your battery. So we've tied those kinds of things into it as well. If I logged out, I'm going to log in again. Alright. If I don't put in the right number, it'll do incorrect PIN. $300. Okay. You notice all these buttons have disappeared, or all the admin buttons have disappeared. This is to do with your target weight, so we're saying we're doing up to 300. Our weight at the minute is minus 0.17, but my system, when it drops upon it, will 0. You have to bear in mind that the weight that is set here is excluding the weight of the punnet. So that punnet is 6 grams. So if you went and weighed it on a scale after the jacks, it should be at least 306 grams. If I log in to my system using the farm manager, I have what house am I going into, so I'm saying house 8. It asks me what type of mushrooms I can do manually, chestnut, I'm saying white mushrooms, and I'm not using buttons, I'm using cups, and I'm using a 300 gram blue punnet. And if you look at the top right hand corner, it'll tell you a 300 gram blue will be 300 grams plus an extra 15 for weight loss, but you also must bear in mind that it would be 6 grams for the punnet. So in that case, it would give me 321 grams before it would shoot it out. Thank you very much.